light shines a little bit brighter, and there's always plenty of wisdom in the well. That's where I wanna live. Yeah, oh, that's where I wanna live. Yeah. Now the path is gonna seem a little clearer. Not so many stumbling stones in the way. Who you're seeing when you're looking in the mirror, you're gonna like a little better every day. Hey, that's where I wanna live. Oh yeah, yeah, that's where I wanna live. Yeah. Now all you really need to get there is some faith and a strong desire. Even if you're down at the bottom, you just reach deep inside and let all that light pull you out of the muck and the mire. Yeah, yeah. Woo. Oh, yeah. So I'm packing up all my old baggage, and I'm going down to the riverside. I'm gonna throw it all into the water, and then jump on that peace train and ride. That's where I wanna live. That's where I wanna spend my time. That's where I wanna live. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's where I wanna live. That's where I wanna spend my time. That's where I wanna live.
But I did say something first service, and I want to say it again, because I was reminded about this when I was driving in. And when I drive, I get lots of downloads. It's like God is chatty Kathy, just chat. And sometimes I will remember things I've said, or things that I've heard, or things that I've thought about, or sometimes I'll just get direct downloads of inspiration. But this morning I was reminded of a story that a gentleman called Neville, he went by his first name, Neville Goddard, and he went just by Neville. And he was a great metaphysician that lived in the last century. And he did things sort of like my husband and I do. He did the spirituality, his wife didn't. I do the spirituality, Tim, well, I should say, he is spiritual, but he lets me do all the praying. Like, you should be praying for this, and you should be praying for that. And according to Neville, his wife was kind of the same way. She just sort of coasted along on fumes, because he's putting out all this spiritual stuff, and she's floating. And then he tells a story that one of his biggest breakthroughs came from one of her dreams, though. So I guess God was downloading, and he wasn't getting it, so he sent it off to the wife. So she woke up one morning. She just woke up, and she said, "Oh, I just had this dream, and here's the message. It's really important. And the message is, I'm not to spend anymore. I'm only to invest. So don't spend my time, don't spend my money. Invest my time, invest my money." Now think about it. An investment pays dividends. An investment comes back to you more, especially if you invest right, more than you put into it. If you spend it, it's gone. And what he realized is that a lot of people spend their time, not invest their time. And so when you show up at the center, even if you had one less hour of sleep, it's an investment. Because this month we're talking about growth. This is a time for growth. March is a time for growth. And even though there's lots of growth in the summer and there's still growth into the fall, in March you start to see it. Because I've noticed that anything that springs up, I'm going, oh! Pretty soon it's just going to be so much for weeding, and we'll be less excited. But right now, I'm very excited about what's coming up. So March is a time for growth. And you being here, you're investing in your growth because you're investing your time considering lessons that are a catalyst for your spiritual development. Because we're going over the chapter in the Bible called John, a gospel according to John. And I talked about it last week, so I'm not going to get into it too much this week. But John, I believe, was written, well, first of all, it's a fact. It was written at least 130 years after Jesus died. So they didn't know Jesus. It's also a fact by Bible scholars that it was not written by a Jewish person, it was written by a Greek person. Lots of Greek references and ways of looking at things. So I believe that it was a group of people, or perhaps a person, taking the life of Jesus and asking us to walk in those shoes, think those thoughts, so that we could acquire the mind of Jesus. Paul said it this way, let your mind be in the mind that was in Christ Jesus. Or he actually just believed in the Christ, and the Christ is the waking up to our realization that there is a God essence in us. There's a God essence in us. That's the Christ. So we're doing through these weeks what many mystery schools did in ancient times, especially around 2,000 years ago, around the Mediterranean area, where priests and initiates would take a story of a god and do what they said the god did so that they could acquire the power that the person or the god had. Does that make sense? So this is just old technology applied in a new way so that we can have a catalyst for our growth. A catalyst doesn't make something happen, it just speeds it up. We're going to grow. We are going to evolve. A catalyst helps that along. It's like, if I now see things coming up, and I put some of that really good manure we have on the little green things, it will be a catalyst for their growth. So, make sense? Right, gardening. I tell you, I got to admit, I don't garden. I don't touch dirt, and but my husband does. See, I do spirituality, he does gardening. It's perfect, right? Everybody's got a job. But I do watch the green stuff come up, and I do watch him cultivating it. He prepares a catalyst for it to evolve. And last week, we started out, because I want to catch everybody out. Last week, we are actually in a mystery school, because the first thing an initiate would do is take a vow. So we ask you to look at the vows that you've taken for poverty, chastity, and obedience, and break that vow. Because if you made a vow, you can break a vow. If you can say, I do, and then I don't. It's called divorce. I want you to divorce your old self, the one that said, oh, to prove my worthiness, I'll go without. No, you didn't do it consciously. It was never conscious. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I wonder how much I can go without today. Well, somebody does, but they should be in a program. Anyway. So we did new vows, a vow to cultivate our conscious union with the divine. We're already one with the divine, since the divine is everything. Since there is a spiritual essence to everything, we're already one with it. We're just not conscious of it. If we're not conscious of it, we can't use it. We can't be used by it. So we made a vow for our conscious union with the divine. Then we were instructed in what to do, because if we start having a conscious union, it's a union. So we will ask for help, and then Spirit will ask us for help, and it will ask us to handle certain things. This is yours to do, and we need to listen. But the story goes, and this is so perfect, that Jesus, when it first heard the Holy Spirit showing up as the woman, because the woman's always the Holy Spirit in these things, When Jesus first heard a thing to do, his first assignment, he said, I'm not ready. I don't think so, not me. How many of you do that? How many of you have been told, you have an inspiration, you could do it, and you go, I am not ready. I don't have enough, blah, blah, blah. And you, blah. Well, you're in good company. According to this story, so did Jesus, but then he went ahead and did it. If you like me on Facebook, because whenever I hear a story of somebody who does something amazing, I put it on Facebook. There's so many people who are finding solutions to too much garbage, too much waste. They're finding ways for renewable energy that doesn't cost anything. They're finding ways to clean up water. There were students in Peru, especially in Lima. Lima gets no rain, but they have a huge population. But you know what they have? A lot of humidity. And students at one of the college figured out a way to take the humidity out of the air and then siphon it into these cauldrons that were going right to the people that needed it the most. Amazing things are happening. There are always downloads of solutions. Always downloads of solutions for myself, for you, for our community, and for the world. And who's listening? See, when you've made a conscious commitment to be one with God, that means you'll say that you'll listen, or at least, really listen. If you have a spouse, you're supposed to listen. Not just appear to. So that was how we started out last week. And then last service, because every service has to be different now because I've got a lot of territory to cover. Last service, we handled what born again means. You'll get that if you listen to it on CD. And then we also had a process where we were cleansed, because after the vows is a cleansing. And it's not good enough to just do what they did in ancient times, which is to cleanse the exterior. We've got to cleanse our mind. And our mind is full of, I love it, baggage. I love that. The mind's full of baggage and stuff we cannot take into the kingdom of I can. And a lot of it is what we carry in baggage, and the stuff we carry around with us is I can't because. A story we've told ourselves. And so we released that. And now we're ready for the next lesson. Now we're prepared. Now we can go out and do stuff because we've done our vows, we've done our cleansing, and now we're ready to do miracles. And that story of the miracle is the only story. And everything is told in stories. We talked about prejudice last service too. And this prejudice was handled in a story, because it's not good enough to not say, don't be prejudiced, because people will say, I won't be prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced, but they really are bad. I'm not prejudiced. They're awful. They shouldn't be around. So the people at that time handled this idea of prejudice with a story that was so bad, everybody had to get it. At least it was bad at that time. But now we're moving on to miracles. And this is told by a story that shows up in all 4 Gospels, which is unusual because John doesn't like any of the stories everybody else told. But they do tell the story of the Gospel. They do tell the story that's in the other Gospels, and it's called the feeding of the 5,000. How many of you have heard the feeding of the 5,000? There weren't 5,000. But we'll just call it the feeding of the 5,000. Nobody was there with a clicker. And they never counted women and children. Never. Women and children didn't count. Literally, you didn't count them. So it would have been only 5,000 men if there were 5,000. And then the ladies had to come along and the children. So it would have been a big crowd. And 5,000 was an idiom for it's a bunch of people. A bunch of people were hanging out on a hillside, and Jesus was talking, and he loved to talk. He loved to talk so much, and they loved listening. And we know that he loved to talk so much because it was getting late, and pretty soon his apostles and his disciples are going, pulling on his robes and going, they were probably hungry. And they were saying, these people need to eat. I think they should go home. Jesus said, oh no, let's just feed them. And they go, we don't have enough to feed them. Well, what do you have? Well, it's not much. We've got some fishes and some loaves. Oh, well, let's just break it apart and bless it and start handing it out. How was my lunch? As it turns out, according to John, everybody got fed, and there were 12 baskets left over of food. Now, how'd that happen? Let's break it down. Emma Curtis breaks it down. They believe that it is told, this story was told because in this is a formula for any miracle. In this. First thing that you need to do, very first thing, be specific about what you want. When I work with people, I notice most people are not specific about what they want. They go around about things. I don't want this and I sort of want that. It's like, be specific. The reason that we don't get specific oftentimes is because we've already figured out we can't have it. So we'll just take second best. Or we've already figured out that we have to do this, this, and this, and this, and this before we get this. So we don't say what we want. An illustration is that last week, someone in my class wanted a specific thing. But before she could have that specific thing, she thought she had to do this first. So she was praying for this, do this first. No, go for the thing. Just go for the thing. And maybe this will get handled, maybe it won't. How many of you have done that? How many of you can really say what you want? This is a practice that I've noticed is not easy. It takes a lot of introspection to really go inside and say, what does my heart really want for me? Our heart's desire is God's will for us. It always has been, always will be. But we dance. But now that you're married, that you are seeking and had a vow for conscious union with the divine, you can go to the divine and say, this is what I'd like. This is what I want. I mean, I dance around too. And my husband will say, just tell me what you want. I just want to know what you want. I was in sales, and in sales there's a phase of sales called testing feasibility, where you throw something out and you see how people look. You throw out a number and see how their face goes. I do that to Tim sometimes. I'll throw something out, see how he looks. He hates it. Hates it. He'll say, just tell me what you want. All my sales training goes right out the window. Be specific. For this particular person on Tuesday, the specific thing was to be able to have a certain type of license. It wasn't to handle all this other stuff. We almost always go to the end, so that in the end is the means and it helps us get through things smoothly. So know what you want. The next thing, and this is I think is the hard thing for people. After you have been specific, it is then and definite about what you want, you have to take into account your assets and liabilities. A lot of metaphysicians don't want to do that. They don't want to know what's really true on this level of incarnation. They just want to be here all the time. Ernest Holmes said that there are people who are so spiritual they're not good for nothing on earth. If you, and this came from the last service, and we're going to put these all together. But one of the things that is happening when we're really listening to this story like it's our story, Ernest Holmes said that Jesus was not the great exception, but the great example. And example after example after example, Jesus would go anywhere. A lot of people who want to be spiritual don't want to consider facts. It's beneath them. No. Facts are to be looked at so they can be worked with. So what happened was they had a count of all their assets and liabilities. Let's see. Assets, some fishes and some loaves. Liabilities, lots of people. Know what you're working with. If you want to shift your finances and you were working with me, you better know what your finances are. Oh, in fact, let's just use money as an illustration because I want you to thrive. People get so weird with money. How much, what do you want to earn this year? Oh, more than last year. Great. Percentage more? How much more? Well, just enough so that I can, what? Do you see how weird that is? That's like getting on Google. No, let's go to Amazon. Something for a pet. What pet? Goldfish like different things than dogs. I mean, do you see how weird we are? And then if I might say, well, how much did you earn last year? My spouse takes care of that. Would you see how weird that is? It's not intelligent. And the universe is intelligent. So you say what you want and you look to see what you have and what you want to and what your liability is, and then what you do is that you bless what you have and start to act. And I forgot to say something. Jesus was on a hill when he did this. Hills always represent high consciousness. So out of a high consciousness, because there was this sense of unity and oneness, he saw that what needed to happen was he needed to feed these people. And then he looked to see how that might happen. It didn't look like what he had was going to be enough, so he blessed it and started to act, giving thanks that God always heard. See, I noticed that there have been times in my life I've wanted something to happen, but it didn't happen till I started moving in that direction. It's the moving in that direction that makes all the difference. Then things happen. If you want to move, start packing. If you want a partner, clean out a drawer. You have to move. You have to bless what you've got, who you're with, and then start to do something. And then what happened is they blessed it, they started handing out food, and then there was much more left over. Most likely, and this has been told by Bible scholars, it wasn't that there was so much of a miracle of multiplying the food that was there. It's that probably everybody had a little food, but they weren't willing to share until somebody started sharing. We weren't willing to do something until somebody started doing something. I don't know how it worked out, but this is an important message. The message to me is I don't have to care or know how it is going to unfold, but I need to know what I want. I need to know the facts of the case. I need to bless what I've got. I need to look up and know that God's hearing me, and I need to do something. And then what happens is that somehow things start to move and to work and to move forward. What is it that you want to have happen in your life for yourself or for your friends? What do you want to have be a miracle in your life? That's an important thing to know. And here's the deal. In this whole story, we are walking in the footsteps of Jesus. He said, follow me. I mean, I think he's going follow me. And we're supposed to do what he did. He also said, keep my words. Say what he said. Most of the things that you'll read in the Bible, especially the synoptic gospels, were added after he was gone. What he wanted was to show a way that everyone could live a better life, live in the kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom of I can instead of the kingdom of I can't. So what he's saying is that your miracles will not happen because somebody will come in and save you. Miracles happen because you stand up and let a miracle happen through you. I become the place where God and miracles show up. See, how many of you want someone, how many of you would just love for somebody to come along on a white horse and save you? Okay, a few of you. A Marvel character. Jessica Jones. Crazy girl. How many of you would really like to have some sort of leader show up and save our government? Stop it. Stop it. Emma Curtis Hopkins said, if you see a job, it's yours. Do you know what I love about this particular year in 2018? Twice as many women are running for government positions than they have ever had. And it's not by party. It's in both parties. Both parties, women said, you know what? I don't like the way things are going. When are they going to change? Oops. Then the Holy Spirit's whispering in their ears the words of Emma Curtis Hopkins. If you see a job, it's yours. And they're signing up. Texas, bless it. Both parties, more women than have ever run in the state of Texas are running for government offices. See, eventually we have to give up the idea that somebody will do it and make it right. We can do it and we can make it right if you're called to. See, I'm called to do certain things. You're called to do certain things. But if you don't know that you're one with the one, you won't listen to the call. And if you don't know that there's a formula, which is know what you want, take stock of what's going on, bless what you've got and get going, then you'll sit and you'll wait for somebody else. And that's crazy. That disempowers the presence of the living Spirit Almighty in you right now, ready to do something, because you're the one you've been waiting for. We've got to chant for that.
I've been waiting for. I am the one who must rise. That's the song. I am the one I've been waiting for. I am the one who must rise.
That bothers you? What is it that you see that hurts your heart, that you complain about to others, or you bitch about to yourself? What is that thing out there? It's okay to say it, but not out loud. It's okay to say it to yourself. And what are you called to do? but maybe not even called. Perhaps you won't get called until you realize that you might be the place where a solution will show up, or a dent, or progress, or movement. You know, I love our new vision statement that we're a community, that we are a spiritual community. We're inclusive, but we serve a force for good. That force for good isn't working just in our life. This force for good can use us to do great things. And it doesn't mean that you'll have to do the whole great thing by yourself, but you might be just the linchpin, just the tiny little nudge that will make a difference, that will be the domino effect for other people to have an experience and then an experience and then an experience. We have not woke up to the power that Spirit has invested in us as expressions of itself. We are the one. We're the place. We're the one we've waited for.
I am the one I've been waiting for. I am the one who must rise. I am the one I've been waiting for. I am the one who must rise.
Thank you. There was a bunch of us that have had a whole bunch of thoughts about homelessness. And I wanted to be a place where homelessness was ended in our community. Boy, that's a big job. That's feeding 5,000. So I did my little part. I raised some money. My husband did his little part. He did some hammering and helped make 2 tiny houses. But I'm going to have Alex Perlman share with you next week, hopefully, what this county is finally doing with tiny houses and how they're building them that's just so complete, so that so many people are going to have homes. You know, I don't know that I didn't do it, but for us but I bought into what could be a solution. Too many of us look out there and we see problem and we don't allow ourselves to imagine solutions so that solutions can be downloaded in those people who are receptive. We have to be the ones that see and hold the concept of solution, not problem. So Jesus fed everybody, and then he traveled away. I think that he was probably an introvert and chatted for a whole day and was going, I need some rest. Take me away from here. And so he went away and they followed him. A bunch of them followed him, and he said, I realize that you guys aren't following me because you want the message. You're following me because you want more food. And he didn't feel like he had really fulfilled his message, which was to give them the message that they could do this themselves. And he felt kind of like a failure. How many of you have done really good stuff and then still felt like a failure because it didn't seem to give you the result you wanted? So this is the lesson from Emma Curtis Hopkins about that particular story. There are 3 things that get in the way of us having the harmonious demonstration that we want in our life. And when I say harmonious demonstration, I mean that it comes out elegantly and easily instead of forcing and fighting and willfully making something happen. Because isn't that tiring? So 3 things get in the way of that. Number 1, and this could be released, cleansed from our consciousness. Number 1 is a belief in hard work. God bless us. We have a country of hard workers. And we honestly, deep down in our bones, often believe that if we don't work hard at something, then we really don't deserve the rewards. Not all of you. You don't all think that, but some of you do. And it can get in the way of an easy and elegant demonstration. The next thing that gets in the way of an easy and elegant demonstration is a need for acknowledgement. Why can't people understand how hard I work? If people just knew how much I put into this, how many of you know that you have a real need for acknowledgement? Well, we all have a need for acknowledgement. It's part of what being a soul is. The issue is we'll never really be fully acknowledged out there until we allow the Spirit of God to acknowledge us within. I was thinking about acknowledgement because I've had a need for it for most of my adult life. And I realize it's because my mother didn't know how to pay attention to me as a kid. And if I really go back to the origin of that need, it was mom just being busy with other kids and do other stuff, and she thought I was self-sufficient, so I had to become that. But I really would have liked her to say, "Hi, Kathianne, how is your day?" So without that need just grew bigger until I realized nothing can fill that need except the Holy Spirit saying, "Thou art my beloved in whom I'm well pleased." So stop expecting other people to appreciate what you've done or what you put into anything. But let the Spirit appreciate you in ways that will be sufficient to you. And the last thing is that we do that keeps the universe from working in an elegant and easy way in our life is that we become incredibly willful instead of willing. How many of you know that you have been willful at times? It will be my way. It's very difficult for that subtle spirit to do wonderful, elegant miracles when we're willing something to happen. Now we can focus, and we can use the law of mind, and it might even work. But there will be a fear that if we take our attention off of this, it'll fall apart, and it does. So we hold it together just by our mental effort, and you know what? That's tiring. If we want an easy and elegant demonstration, I suggest we take a deep breath and we say this, and it becomes our new mantra. You're going to love it. I will to will thy will. Meaning that higher presence, that spirit that wants to speak to us, that wants to give us instructions, that wants to inspire us, that wants to show us what our job is. I will to will thy will. So let's say it together. I will to will thy will. I'm really grateful that Harold started the day or our time together with asking who had a spiritual practice they wanted to share. And now I'd like to ask, is there anybody that has a prayer request that they'd like to share? The last service, one person had a prayer request, and most of the people in the room had that same prayer request. So I trust that if you have one, it's probably going to bless a lot of people. Who has a prayer request? Okay, Monica?
That my knee surgery goes quickly and the healing is exponentially expedited.
Okay, so Monica wants perfect health healing, vitality, vim, and vigor. See, that was the thing. You're waiting for your knee. No, you've always been waiting for something. I'm saying that Jesus Christ would say, own the whole thing, and the knee will be just taken care of. Do you see the difference? Because you've always had great surgeries. Now I want you to stop it. Does that make sense? I mean, I had to know her quite well. We've known each other for a long time. But how many of you want this, and then this, and then this, and then this? No, want the end. The end is your perfect health, your perfect healing, your vim, vitality, and energy, and rocking the world. Yeah. Who wants that? That's what... And I fall into that same trap. I will say, well, I've got to fix this so this will happen. No, this will happen. This will happen. Otherwise, we're always fixing. How many of you know that you've done a series of fixes. What you want is the end. So hold the end in mind. What is the thing you want? What is that thing that you would be called to accept? And for those of you that are accepting perfect health, then hold that in mind. And so I just give thanks that in spirit, in God, this thing that is beyond time and space, there is no time and space. Time and space is something that we created as human beings so that we could comprehend reality, so we wouldn't be so inundated. But in spirit, there is no time or space, so it's already done. To say it's done, it's already done. There is already a perfect prototype for the wonderful expression of goodness held in this mind of God, which is in our mind. If Paul could say, let your mind be in the mind that was in Christ Jesus, it is hold in your mind what is held by the perfect expression of God in you, which is fullness and completeness, nothing missing, nothing wrong. In the body, there's nothing missing, nothing wrong. Hold that. Hold the vitality, the vim, the vigor, the zeal, the enthusiasm, the flexibility, the vibrancy, the jump up and get excitedness of life. Hold that, know that, feel that. Make it one with your mind, your emotions, and now start to feel it in your body. Now, don't wait, feel it now. Feel the surge of spiritual energy flowing through you, through every fiber, every cell, every muscle, every tendon, every bone. Allow yourself to feel that now. And know that the master teacher, our great example, said now is the appointed time. Know it now. And allow the perfect operation of spirit to unfold perfectly. For this moment is a catalyst for the development of our soul. This moment, this teaching is a catalyst for the development of our perfect health. It is a catalyst for the development of our perfect healing in any direction. It is the revelation of great health. And I give thanks that each and every one of us, no matter how we are this moment, there is no end to the unfoldment of our health. There's no end to the unfoldment of our healing. There's no end to the unfoldment of our good. And so I give thanks that I'm just going to spread this good around, and it's not only showing up in our body, but in our finances, in our relationships, and in our work in the world. I am so grateful that we accept a greater good this moment. And that greater good, that acceptance, that allowing, our standing up and saying, I'm the one I've been looking for. I'm the one to accept this greater good in the world. I'm the one who is allowing myself to will the will of God. I'm the one who's willing to give up the idea I have to work hard. I am the one who's willing to know that I am appreciated, acknowledged, and recognized by the presence of God because it made me. All of us, that's us. And by doing this prayer is the catalyst for the unfoldment of something beyond our wildest dreams. It's happening now. And so it is.